whenever. We are live. Hello, voters. Audit the Vote Newsroom. I am CEO Tony Shub, joined with my fellow co-patriot Karen Taylor, Audit the Vote CFO and Cause of America Partnership Lead. We have a very power-packed show, a ton of updates for the state of Pennsylvania and nationwide. We are 13 days out from the most important presidential election, I believe, of our lifetimes. And we have a very special guest to join us tonight to talk a little bit about reporting issues on elections and tools that True the Vote has put together. This is kind of surreal. Karen probably feels the same way. Like we admired, you remember our 2000 Mules watch party that we had, that some hacker actually, Catherine, we had she's backstage, she can hear me. We had a watch party when 2000 Mules came out, and we had somebody fraudulently fill out like our sheet of people that were coming. So we got like nowhere near the turnout that we expected, but we were still blown away at the movie. And it's so crazy surreal that we're working with her now. And she is just an incredible powerhouse, and someone that I certainly kind of look to follow in the election integrity movement, because she's been doing this for way longer than we have, and someone that we can learn from. And yet she is still founder of True the Vote and as humble as can be. And I think one of my favorite things about her is that she doesn't come in. You would think somebody with her just breadth of experience and information would want to take over everybody's operation, because she knows so much and she can bring so much value and experience. Experience is vital in this business, if you will, in politics, and understanding the game. It takes time. You have to get hurt. You have to get hit. You have to learn how to get back up. She could very easily, and with every right in the world, take over everything she does. And she doesn't do that at all. She comes to us and says, you know, how can I help you? What gaps do you have that maybe True the Vote can fill? And let's partner together. And I love that about you, Catherine. And she has carved out some special time for us. I don't think we're going to have her on camera because she's not feeling the greatest, but she is going to be available on audio. And I want her to talk with you guys. Joel, if you'll pull you can pull her in, and then pull up the graphic for Vote Alert, if we're going to do the graphic or the website. But Vote Alert is an app that True the Vote has been working on that is going to allow nationwide coverage of incidents on election day and reporting, so that we don't have to rely on establishment hacks to intervene when something happens on the ground. And so it is my honor to present, even though it's only audio, I'm totally fine with that, Catherine Engelbrecht to our audience. Thank you for taking the time, Catherine. We really appreciate it. Oh, is she muted?
Yep.
We'll wait till she unmutes herself. I just threw her in. Maybe that wasn't like, hey, just come right on. Anyway, Barb, yes, she is a great guest. She is incredibly well respected, certainly in our circle. And I'm fairly certain that the establishment in Pennsylvania is freaking out that we have got funding to pay poll watchers in the city of Pittsburgh. And we're partnering with True the Vote to get the reporting piece under control, so that we don't see, hopefully, the shenanigans, or I should say that they don't get away with the shenanigans that they got away with in 2020. And we're expecting to see similar things, but we are also expecting that we have way more people on the ground educated, and we are not going to have to live with consequences of broken laws and shenanigans on election day anymore. So whenever she's able to unmute, Catherine, I wanted you to tell the audience about Vote Alert, because obviously this is something that your team put together and came up with. And I love it's super simple from what I'm seeing to use. And they're working also in partnership with Mike Lindell, Patrick Colbeck's Cause of America, and their Vocal app that we're going to have, that Karen will be talking about in a little bit later. But this Vote Alert, from what I'm seeing so far, is it's super simple to do an incident report. It is nationwide, although we are going to be the administrative side of Pennsylvania's Vote Alert. So when you in Pennsylvania report an issue, whether it's now or it's on election day, it's going to go through us as Audit the Vote. It'll get vetted on our side before it gets dealt with in the field, or if we have to escalate something. But it is also nationwide. So You'll notice that you can see issues from states, every state in the country. Catherine has a great team that I just got introduced to, that Karen has been working with her assistant for a little while. She knew her. I'm like, how? I was just telling her about your assistant. Like, this girl is amazing. How have we not crossed paths and met? I love her. And their back end, they have a really good team of people that have been in the fight, and they're on this. And I feel better about Pennsylvania in 2020, honestly, now than I have ever. A couple months ago, I was like, I don't know, because I know how easily manipulatable the system is and how easy it is to compromise everything. And I just don't know, but we're still going to do our part. And after everything that I'm seeing come together physically today, I feel really good about the next 13 days. And I feel really good that I don't know how chaotic it's going to get or what they're going to pull to try to stop Donald Trump from becoming the 47th president. But I feel comfortable that we're going to get a fair enough election that in Pennsylvania, it's going to be too big to rig. So.
And it is pretty cool to get to see, when we were at the rally in Butler a couple weeks ago, she had a team of people that were going around giving little stickers. Did you see that, Tony, for Vote Alert?
Yeah. No,
it was great. So I texted Catherine. I was like, "You've got some awesome people here that are promoting the Vote Alert." And she's like, "Yeah." So it's cool to see them on the ground. Like Tony said, they're so humble, and for everything that they have been through, it's insane. So
I think she's able to unmute. Do I see you unmuted finally? Or maybe not. It's just the little microphone went away.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Karen, keep going.
No, you're good. No, it was really neat because I was talking to one of the girls on the ground, and I explained, that I work with Mike Lindell and Cause of America. And so we had a great conversation, but it's so neat to see just how many people now compared to what we saw in 2020 on the ground that are paying attention. And so, yeah, this is really, really exciting for reporting on Election Day. Because I think I told Tony, one of the things that I've been telling people is that the narrative, right, in 2020 was that everything was free and fair. And there were only just a couple little incidences here and there. And they were all Republican. And not that this is a Democrat or Republican thing, but, the thing now is that if we can get ahead of the narrative, right, if we can actually show all the issues that there have been. And I wonder if part of this early voting thing is that specifically, because we're seeing all these issues already with early voting, machines not passing LNA testing, right? We're seeing machines flipping votes in multiple states, right? We're seeing voter rolls that have 500,000 people that are on there that shouldn't be on there. We're seeing tons and tons of issues, and we're still 12 days away from the election. And so I think that this is a great way to get ahead of the narrative that everything was free and fair. Like, our wonderful Secretary of Commonwealth, Al Schmidt, wants to tell everybody. And we're seeing now, even in Pennsylvania, we're seeing issues with, look at what's going on in Luzerne County and other counties. And just, it's interesting to me that with the way social media is now, especially Twitter, X, I still haven't gotten used to calling it X, but just the news that we're able to get out alternatively compared to what the mainstream media doesn't want to show. So
I agree. So when Catherine, you're able to unmute, just start talking, interrupt us in anything, because I don't want to put her on the spot anymore. And I know she doesn't have much time, but I just appreciate that she came on here and glad that you guys are tuning in to see her. And just know that there are people like her all over the nation collaborating together, that we're not fighting over who gets the credit, and we don't care about what donor is given to this organization or that organization. I was going to say with Lindell's up there, obviously Mike Lindell has been at the tip of the spear for taking on the media and taking on the deep state in so many different ways. And he has put his entire fortune on the line. And so if you're able to get some Christmas gifts early, go to MyPillow and you can support Mike Lindell and Audit the Vote by using our promo code ATVPA. Or I don't know, Catherine, you know what? If True the Vote has a promo code and you're watching tonight, use True the Vote's promo code. That's or right. Just whatever you feel led to do. None of us are worried about the things like that because the mission is just too important and too valuable. None of us got in this for a paycheck. We're certainly not still here for a paycheck. And Lord only knows what our paychecks are going to look like after November 5th anyway. So learn to support the Patriots and join the movement because it's a good Patriot fighting happy family. Promo code ATVPA, or I would assume if True the Vote has one, is TTV. But yeah, I would assume that it's TTV, but we'll see. She can let us know. Yeah, Catherine, if you're able to unmute, go for it. Yep. We just can't hear you.
I know she was messaging us and saying,
Oh, wait a minute. Unmute.
can you unmute her?
I can't. Is it Joel? Can you unmute her?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yay!
Yeah, I've just been sitting quietly waiting for my turn. So thank you guys so much for inviting me on. And Karen, God, thank you for I heard the comments about having us on the ground, and I don't know who you met, but you may have met my daughter, who is now, when I first started with all of this, she and my son were just tiny little kiddos, and now she just got married and she's going out to the rallies and handing out vote alert stickers, and it's just coming full circle. So
That's awesome.
really, yeah. Really special time. Well, do you want me just to kind of hop in? I don't want to take too much time, but I would love to tell people what's going on with Vote Alert.
Yes,
Absolutely.
please do. Take it away.
Great. So Vote Alert is an app that it's sort of got a couple different channels and different ways to use it. I'll try to keep it simple. First of all, you can go to votealert.org and download the app. It's a web app, which means it's not an app that you go and get from the App Store or from Google Play. We've tried that in the past, and what happened to us in 2020 was we posted it in the online as a native app, as it's called, Google Play or in the App Store, and they canceled it. They basically killed the app mid-election. So we decided we're not going to do that again. We will do it in a different way. So if you go to votealert.org, we have instructions on how you can still download the app to be on the home screen of your phone, but you just don't have to download all of the stuff from the App Store.
That's
So
brilliant.
if you get the app, think of it like Instagram for voting, where you can report incidents, you can attach anything you want, video, audio, any kind of document, and it comes back to our team and also to y'all's team now, since we're working together on this, where you can see the reports that are coming in. And what we do on the True the Vote side is vet them, because many of the reports that we get in are questions that people just don't, that, I've gotten 2 ballots, what do I do? Or I got a mail-in ballot, but I still want to go vote in person, I'm not quite sure what to do, those kinds of things. So we try diligently, we've got people literally working around the clock to get those answers back out quickly. But for those, we also have other types of incidences that are reported that are more troubling. We had one reported today with some footage of people going around an apartment complex and going into the mail areas and removing mail ballots, those kinds of things. And so what we're trying to do is not only create a feed inside of the app, but take those types of reports and post them on social media so that we're helping to spread the word. So
I love it.
so that's one of the functions, is just this app that you can report. And it's also great for tracking if you've got teams out there and you're wanting to keep up and know what's going on. It's a great real-time way to do that. In addition, we have a toll-free 800 number where we have live operators who are trained to take incident reports, and that comes to us as well. And then we have all the same stuff, but in Spanish, available additionally. So in 2020, we got 20 or 30,000 reports. We expect that we'll probably get 100,000. I really don't even know. The great thing, and Karen, you're so right. I heard your comments earlier that there's such a marked difference between where we were in 2020 and now in 2024. Back in the day, we got a lot of reports because there wasn't a whole lot of other option. Now there are so many ways to report. So we're very hopeful that people will use the app. But the main thing is, if you see something, do something about it. Reporting it is one step in the right direction for sure, but hold your ground. If you are in a situation, another report that we're seeing often now is votes flipping. If that occurs, yes, definitely report it, but stand your ground and don't leave until it's been corrected. So we are right out there on the front lines with all of you, standing together, trying to ensure that people can have the opportunity to vote in a process that is fair and accurate. Feels like we're, walking into strong headwinds, but nonetheless, we're going. and 12 days, one way or another, it's going to be here. So that's really it. I mean, it's very simple. We're thrilled to be working with you guys. Thrilled to see that how you've given you access to all the Pennsylvania stuff, and take that and run with it. And we'll support you as well as we can throughout the rest of this adventure.
Adventure, and an adventure it is. Oh my gosh. But I would say we are headed into strong wins forward. But I think the reason I'm starting to feel a peace and comfort, Catherine, is because we're all together now, and
Can
we
y'all
weren't
still hear
in
me?
20.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that's really all I had. Unless Karen, you have any comments or questions, or that's it. I just wanted to let you guys know about the app, and oh, I do have one other thing that's exciting. We're working with you guys. We're working with Cause of America and Lindell's group, but we are also going to be working with Stephen Crowder, and he has a big platform called the Mug Club, and he's doing this election, I don't even know, election extravaganza on election day, and is going to be promoting Vote Alert as well. So I'm excited because it's opening up to millions of new viewers and participants. So and you guys will see that as well, because if they come into Pennsylvania, you're gonna see them. So the more we can spread the word, the better.
Awesome. Maybe she can't hear me, Karen. She might just be able to hear you. So tell her thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Catherine. We're really excited because I feel like this time we're kind of all working together. This is, we're not divided anymore. And I feel like the more we can unite, the better off we're going to be. So thank you so much. We are so excited.
You guys are awesome, and just keep the faith, and we're going to get through this, and it's going to be fantastic on the other side.
That's right. Thank you so much for taking the time. Feel better.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Okay, bye guys.
Bye. I don't think for whatever reason she could hear me. Maybe that's why she was just hanging out there, because she couldn't hear me. So sorry about that. Barb, that's a really good question. So she answered that on here. The website, it's however you get a website that you've logged into onto your home screen is all you have to do. And I know Joel will be able to help you with that, because he's your personal tech support. So we'll send Joel to you to help you figure that out. But appreciate Catherine Engelbrecht for coming on. She's right. We're connected together now, like we were not in 2020. No clue. I mean, Audit the Vote didn't exist, obviously, this time 4 years ago. We were just innocent bystander. I was just watching, and I had all the naive faith in our system that anybody could possibly muster, thinking that certainly our courts, this is why we're free, right? Because everything's going to come out in court and it's all going to be okay. And I can speak for Pennsylvania. I know this now. Back in 2020, we only had 200 or 500 poll watchers statewide, or at least that's what the GOP numbers have reported and are indicating, that we only had 500 people watching the polls statewide in 2020. And we have funding, just us, one little corner of Pennsylvania on the western side of the state, have funding to get up to 200 people just for Allegheny County area. And I know that there's people all over the state that are filling their precincts and their counties with poll watchers. And so that in and of itself is giving me so much comfort and peace that it is going to be too big to rig, and at least a fair election. It's not even necessarily who wins. It's just, can we get it fair enough that we can trust that the outcome is legit one way or the other? So all of that to say, Joel, queue up if you could. Karen, anything else we need to share about Vocal? And I'll have Joel queue up.
I think the biggest thing is whether you use Vote Alert or Vocal. In my opinion, I would say both. And Vocal, for those of you who don't know, it used to be Frank's Social. It is Mike Lindell's his social media platform. And the reason they just rebranded, there was a lot of confusion with Frank's Speech and Truth Social. So they just rebranded, so they had their own distinct name. But it's still the same platform. And it goes with the Election Crime Bureau. And so what you can do really is kind of use both. The Vocal will go out for the masses. Everybody's going to be able to see it on Vocal. But it's the same thing, like we said, we're partnering with Vote Alert and True the Vote. So all the reporting, regardless of which one you use, will go to us, and we'll be able to, if it's actionable, take action immediately, or in the days right after the election. And so we're really excited. Like Tony said, we're all working together. And at the end of the day, that's what we need. That's the only way that, we have a strong front and make sure that anything that you see, the old saying, see something, say something, do it, right? Do it. So that's it.
Carl, to answer your question, should we prepare to file precinct recount petitions this election? I would only if there's a precinct that there are egregious situations that we weren't able to stop. I would say yes, because when we did that before, it was to confirm that the paper ballot hand count would match the machines. And especially in Allegheny County, they're not going to give us that with those petitions. They're just going to scan them right back through the same machines. And so for the purpose that we did it before, we didn't get what we wanted out of that. Now, that being said, if you go into a precinct like the one that has given us the gumption to go out and get poll watchers, where there was a judge of elections in Oakland that was letting people come in and vote without even signing the poll book, and she herself left the precinct and came back with ballots. If we have poll watchers that see those things and can't stop them on election day, because our process that we're going to teach people is your judge of elections is the boss at the precinct. That's the first place you go, and it's technically, as a poll watcher, the only person that you're allowed to interact with inside the polling location is the judge of elections. You are not allowed to talk to voters or even other poll workers there. The judge of elections is your point of contact. So if you see something, that's where you go first. In this particular instance, if the judge does not follow the law and continues to break the law, no matter what people bring to her, you can call the county constable, and they're the elected official that has the authority to get involved on election day at a polling location. However, in this case, the county constable was her son. So when that was brought to him, you can imagine how things fell flat and went absolutely nowhere. So if we have something like that again, this time, then we're going to escalate it. If that happens again, that's where we're going to get people like Vote Alert, Vocal, County Election Office, RNC Hotline, everything screaming from the rooftops to get legal help so that we can stop it in its tracks. But if we don't, that's where I would say we would probably need to use the precinct recount. It would make sense to do a recount of the precinct, a complete canvassing effort of that individual precinct, just to find out, was everybody a legit voter? Kind of how did things shake out? Because that one precinct actually did not reconcile their ballots. And this was after 2020. This wasn't even in 2020. This was from a mom that saw what happened in 2020 and decided to be a poll worker in her district so that she could contribute to being part of the solution instead of the problem. And then when she saw stuff, then it couldn't stop it, just got kind of dejected, I guess, and said, well, this isn't worth it. And then lo and behold, I meet her about 8 months ago at a meeting for our kids' school. And it's completely changed the way that we're able to approach 2024 in our poll watching efforts. So all of that to say, Joel, cue up that video. We did a video a week or so ago that Joel posted today on our socials of me answering the question of voting early. So you're going to notice that the Trump campaign is all over the place. Any camp, really, Carrie Lake, all the campaigns are out there saying vote early, vote early, vote early. And we are by no means telling you not to vote early, but a lot in our circle that have been on the ground and fighting are asking,
let's answer some
what's
tough
the deal?
questions
So here we
regarding
go.
election integrity now that we're headed into the most consequential presidential election here on November 5th, that I would argue of our entire lifetimes. To vote early or not to vote early? If I vote early, how do I vote early? Should I vote by mail? Should I go to my county courthouse? In fact, where do I even go to vote early? I get these questions on a daily basis. And so I want to do a quick breakdown just to give you my thought process by letting you know first and foremost that this is just my opinion. Based on the experiences that we've had on the ground since 2020, we have developed some strong opinions on whether or not you should early vote, whether or not we should use mail-in ballots. But I want to use the disclaimer first that this is just my opinion. Unfortunately, none of these electronic voting machine companies were able to give us the information that we needed to be fully comfortable one way or the other, whether or not early voting is safe. Is it possible that they are somehow using the people that are showing up early and casting their ballot in some big roster so they know how many ballots they can stuff to fill to eventually swing the election any which way they want it to go? Yes, that's 100% possible. Can we prove that they're doing it? Nope, because they won't let us look. So with that being said, here's my thoughts on early voting. I would walk over broken glass to get to the polls on election day. I recognize, however, that not everybody is like me. In reality, there's probably only about 25 to 30% of voters that think that way. But if you are like me, thinking, come hell or high water, I am going to vote on election day, then there's no need for you to vote early or to do a mail-in ballot. Just planning on going to the polls on election day. Now, on the other side of the coin, though, you know a lot of people, and I know a lot of people. And if you're like me, you're out trying to start conversations and encouraging your friends and family, coworkers, neighbors, whoever you can get in front of to go out and vote on November 5th. And the folks that I think are good candidates for early voting or voting by mail are the ones that are not like us, that are not, you're not sure if they're going to go to the poll on election day. They're a little bit wishy-washy. They don't really like either candidate. I'm going to vote, but you can just tell that if something were to go wrong, if there was a bomb threat, if there's some type of natural disaster on election day, they're not necessarily going to inconvenience themselves to get to the polls. Those are the people that you want to make sure they have a plan. Those are the people that you want to make sure they understand where they have to go if they're going to vote early. It's different in every county. Some of the counties have their own separate office that you have to go to, their election board office. A lot of counties have the election board office in the courthouse. Some counties like Allegheny are even setting up satellite offices, multiple locations that are going to be open certain days and certain times that anybody can go to and vote early, typically on a 9-to-5 business schedule. But again, if you're like me and you're going to go to the polls no matter what, I don't think you need to be one of those people to vote early. Get the people in your sphere of influence that aren't quite sure about. Those are the ones you want to make sure they have access somehow to a plan to vote, so we make sure that every legal vote counts. Folks, we cannot do this without your support.
Joel, you can cut it. I just ask for money because that's all I do nowadays is ask for money all day, every day, because it takes money to do this.
To cover every
And it does.
And that video is available now on all of our social media. So follow us. I didn't say no getting like, share, and subscribe to this video if you haven't already. Whatever your favorite social media platform of choice is, whether it's Instagram, X, YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. Don't even get me started on Facebook because my account is hacked. If you followed my personal Facebook account, I am not there anymore. It is controlled by a hacker. That's a separate topic we don't have time to get into tonight, but just follow us on social media. That video is available. And I recommend if you share that with people, because if we're getting those questions constantly. And I think that's the most objective. I think Karen agrees with that. Karen, if you disagree with anything in that video, say so now.
I don't necessarily disagree. My only quip about early voting, and I told Tony this earlier, is that if you guys have noticed, everything that, not just us, but everything that the people that have been on the ground for the last 4 years in election integrity have done to protect our elections, whether it be hand counting, CVRs, ballot images, opening up the ballot boxes, trying to get ahead of counties that didn't reconcile, all of that stuff. We have been hammered by the Department of Justice, by, people who like Mark Elias, right? All of those people have come after us. But why is nobody coming after early voting? To me, that's just in the back of my mind, something is funky. And who knows, obviously there are a lot of people that are advocating for it. Am I saying it's a bad thing? Not necessarily. But I have noticed a lot of people that I highly respect and trust that are cybersecurity experts, all of them do not advocate for it. So really, I agree with Tony. It's a personal choice. You have to decide what's best for you. If you're working the elections, if you're a poll watcher, a poll worker, judge of elections, you can either do a mail-in ballot or go vote early in person. Personally, if I had the choice of those two, I'd go vote early in person. But it's really a personal choice that you have to decide what works best for you.
And we're rolling the dice on this one because, again, we don't have proof one way or the other. So just shake them good and roll them and decide what's best for you. We're literally rolling the dice, so we don't know. Just get out and vote. Vote and get everybody you can to vote. So that's that. Let's get into some specific Pennsylvania stuff. I know Karen's got good stuff to cover. We're going to kind of just piggyback back and forth and make sure you guys are as informed as possible. Look at the comment. That is inaccurate according to the law. A poll watcher, a poll worker, anybody can call the county constable to the polling location, and they have the authority according to the law to.
Or a voter can call the constable.
Yeah, that's completely inaccurate, and I will have to find the section off the top of my head. Can't think of where it says that in the law, but that is we should send that to you so that you can send it to the person that told you that and make sure that they're straight for election day.
Yep.
That's a good question, Joe. How long is it going to take PA to count the votes after Election Day? Speaking, that leads me perfectly into something called UOCAVA ballots.
Yep.
So Joel has a website for this. I want him to pull up. So this is one of the biggest threats that we're facing going into November 5th in terms of taking forever to count, being uncertain how many legitimate votes we got on election night. There's something called the UOCAVA, Uniformed and Overseas Citizens Absentee Voting Act, that allows citizens of the United States who live in Pennsylvania, in our case, this is nationwide law, it's a federal law, but in Pennsylvania, if you are overseas, you can mail a ballot. You can request a mail-in ballot via this law, and you don't even have to be a registered voter. I don't know the specifics. I haven't dug into it or what the verbiage. I'm guessing the thought is, well, perhaps you went overseas and weren't registered to vote. Why should we disenfranchise you? So we'll just send you a ballot and we'll figure it out later. And so they have until by law, November the 12th, to count these UOCAVA ballots because they're supposedly coming from somewhere overseas. Now,
well, and it's not even a ballot. It comes on a postcard. They don't even get a ballot. It has to come on a postcard. And then that postcard goes to the elections office and a person manually votes that postcard on a machine.
Amen.
Sorry.
So it's not, yeah, no, you're right. This is why we do this. It's not even an actual ballot. And so the danger is, listen to this. This is how many UOCAVA ballots have gone out in Pennsylvania right now. 15,000. We have 15,000 of these things floating out there. We don't know where they are. And they're not attached to a registered voter. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we go into this. When we're looking at the margin of victory, I don't know how many. The deadline to apply for these things, I'm guessing, is the same day as a regular mail ballot, which is the 29th of October. So we will go into November 5th knowing how many of these are floating out there. But that's kind of the danger, and that we need to, the remedy to this is we can challenge mail ballots. On the Friday before election, you can do it now, but you have until the Friday before election day to file in court an official challenge to a mail ballot for reasons like this. If you have reason to suspect that it might not be legitimate, but it's $10 a ballot to make the challenge. And so do the math just in this situation. If you were able to get an attorney and get all the paperwork filed, you would need $150,000 up front to file the challenge against 15,000 mail-in ballots. Now, the really fun, talk about Vegas. Our laws are like Vegas. If you are proven correct and the challenge that you made is upheld in that the ballot should not be counted, you get your $10 back. Ding, 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 ding. It's like Vegas. Like, who does this? So you got to put up 150 grand up front, but you might get all of it, some of it, half of it, none of it back. You never know. Anyway, that's why we ask on a daily basis to go to auditthevotepA.com and click on donate. That's right. Things that your money is going to go towards, stuff like that.
That's right.
And so TLC teacher, no, it is not up to it is in the Pennsylvania election code. It is by law. And if you dig deep into this, that is because in the 1980s, there were scuffle between the DNC and the RNC in election integrity and voter suppression. And the DNC accused the RNC somewhere along the way of using police force intimidation at the polls. And so they do not allow a police officer, a uniformed police officer is only allowed to enter the polling location where they live if they are going in to vote. Otherwise, they are not allowed at the polling location. Somehow it got written then into the election code that the county constable, since that was our elected law enforcement, county constable would be the law enforcement that would be allowed to enter the polling location on election day.
Right.
So it is not up to the county. It is according to the election code. So UOCAVA, that's the deal on UOCAVA. The number right now is 15,000. It is probably growing on a daily basis. And there are also a bunch of mail ballots that have been requested to people that, according to the National Change of Address database, don't live in our state anymore. And yet these people have requested mail ballots. There's roughly, you are very welcome. There's roughly 300,000 of those ish. I think Marley Hornick put out a number today that's over 400,000. I can't remember if that was people registered. That's a different number. At any rate, it's in the hundreds of thousands of mail ballots that have been requested to people that are not registered to vote in Pennsylvania anymore, don't live, well, they're registered. They don't live here anymore. They don't live here anymore. And in some cases, we can prove that they're even registered in the state where they moved to.
That's right.
And so if that's the case, again, another challenge for a mail ballot that we can make, because if there's evidence to indicate that you are registered, you moved to Nevada 2 years ago and you're registered there, there's absolutely no reason why you should be requesting a mail ballot for Pennsylvania. And so, but again, it costs $10 to challenge each and every one of those. And we've got hundreds of thousands of those. So there's no shortage of places that we could challenge in the court. That's the mail ballot issue. Karen,
I want to touch on that though.
Stuff to cover, so go for it.
So with what Tony was just talking about, that number, she said, that came from the National Change of Address. And a lot of people have asked me, you might have heard NCOA. A lot of people have asked me, where does that come from? Well, that comes from the United States Postal Service. And the provider that we are able to tap into it's a full service provider. So the same access that our ERIC system, which I'm sure most of you guys know, uses, that's supposed to, talk to interstates and make sure that nobody's on the voter rolls twice, and how great
Which you're doing a stellar job at doing it.
Such a great job. But that's where our information comes from. So when people are like, cite your source, blah, 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 that's our source, the United States Postal Service. So if you don't like our information, go talk to them. Okay. First one. So yes. The other thing that, Joel, if you can pull up, the Bob Casey commercial, because I want you guys to see this. I was telling Tony about this. I saw this the other day and I was a little shocked, to say the least, because we all know who Bob Casey is, right? He's running for Senate against Dave McCormick. And I was a bit shocked when I saw his newest commercial, because he talks about being in line with Trump on a couple of issues. And so I want Joel to show this, because I thought it was quite interesting. And to me, that doesn't show that much confidence in your side candidate if you're saying in your commercial that you are agreeing with the other side. So Joel, if you can pull that commercial.
Biden to protect fracking, and he sided with Trump to end NAFTA and put tariffs on China to stop them from cheating.
So, yeah, quite interesting that he's saying he supports Trump's trade order. Isn't that interesting?
Could that be a sign that they're freaking out, that there's no way if they endorse Harris that they have any chance of winning?
I mean, it's interesting to me that, and there's no mention right here of Harris. It's Biden and Trump. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that that came out. Yeah, that was a little shocking to me.
Let's answer Joseph's question. What is the purpose of a poll greeter? I love these questions. Please educate yourself. A poll greeter stands out in front of the polling location. They are typically either volunteer or employed by a campaign, and their job is to hand out literature promoting their candidate, or you can do it for a ballot initiative issue, whatever it is. That's what a poll greeter's job is. And they have to stand, I believe, a certain 10 feet away from the door of the polling location.
At least 10 feet away from the doors.
At least 10 feet away from the door. So if you hear the term electioneering, I had never heard that before. I still think it's kind of a weird. Electioneering is illegal. Electioneering is campaigning inside of the 10 feet from the polling location. You can't be standing right by the door and handing out literature for a campaign or really anything that's on the ballot. You have to be that 10 feet plus away. I mean, we could speculate. I'm not sure why they do that, but at any rate, that's a poll greeter versus a poll watcher who's observing the process, and the poll workers are actually running the show that day, with the judge of elections being the head honcho. So that being said, I roll into the Be Hizzy tweet. Let's talk about Erie County. We've had a really interesting week in a lot of different ways. We expect it to get more interesting over the next, I guess it's 13. Tomorrow it'll be 12. We're not quite at midnight yet. And so a situation that hit my radar, I think yesterday, I spoke to our county lead in Erie, who called and said, we have a little bit of a situation. We have a married couple who each got 2 mail-in ballots. So a he and a she, they got 2 ballots. They requested 1, they got 2. And when they opened their ballots, the inside, so you get a ballot that's very official looking on the outside. And then when you open it, the return envelope that's supposed to go back to the county has your name on it. And that return envelope was addressed to the wrong person. So the address that the ballot came to was not who the ballot was actually for on the inside. So think about, how does that happen? That's a great question.
Erie County voters were sent the wrong ballot. So what's being done to fix the problem?
Officials from the Erie County Board of Elections say that nearly 300 Erie County voters have been sent multiple mail-in ballots, and now the board is working to make sure that that doesn't happen again.
To have a problem in Pennsylvania is bad. To have a problem in Pennsylvania's swingiest swing county is absolutely horrible.
But that's exactly what happened. Erie County election officials say on Friday they learned 296 people got 2 ballots in the mail, a correct ballot and a ballot for another voting district.
We know who those individuals are. We're working diligently to notify them and to ask them to return their ballot. If they vote, if they receive 2 ballots and they voted correctly with their proper name, everything lines up, they're fine.
Horton says Election IQ's addressing system temporarily failed, which caused wrong ballots to be sent to wrong addresses.
The Pennsylvania election is the safest and securest and freest ever.
And this is not, folks, this is stuff that happens all the stinking time. So, and many counties do this. Listen up. Here's another education. Your mail ballots, in some cases, depending on what county you're in, that whole service is being outsourced by the county to something like IQ. What's this one called? IQ something?
Yeah, IQ something.
I can't remember what it is. Runbeck is another printer. They hire a printer they contract out with to print all the mail ballots. And in some cases, the printer gets the information for all the voters who requested a mail ballot, and the printer mails the ballot to the voter, not the county. Other counties that I think are a little smarter and want to have more control of their process, which they all should, is they hire the printer, but the ballots, at least they go back. All the mail ballots go back to the county, and the county distributes them to the voters. So I don't know how it's legal even to have that voter information distributed to a printer. Must be something written in the contract, more stuff that we need to dig into. But in this case, in Erie County, that's what happened. So it was the printer screwed up. Somehow there was a printing error. We don't know exactly what it was. The news is obviously trying to just glaze over it, and we've got it under control. What I was told by the folks on the ground is the county was telling people, we're going to mail you an envelope, and we want you to mail us back the additional ballot that does not belong to you, and we'll take it from there. And like, I'm not saying that they're doing anything shady, but I don't feel good about that. How do we not get to the bottom of this? This was a software issue on this vendor's part. And this is your job. It's the most consequential election in our lifetimes. I'm fairly certain this is something we should get right. And if we don't, is Erie County canceling that contract? Because that's what the folks on the ground are screaming for. They even notified local law enforcement. They went to the district attorney's office. They went to the sheriff. We are doing everything by the book and right and lawful, because we are not advocating for violence. We are not advocating for anything that is not above board and doesn't stick with the law. But we do have to stand our ground and actually follow through with these measures, as annoying as they are, because if you're looking at it through our lens, it's like, we know they're cheating. It's just having to do all this and jump through all these hoops. Nevertheless, we're going to keep things above board. And I wanted to share that with you guys in Erie, because that's how safe and free and fair Pennsylvania's elections are.
That's right. And I'll piggyback on that really quickly. It's not just in Pennsylvania, guys, because in Wisconsin, there was a county that they sent out 15 already completed by the computer absentee ballots to people. And those were supposed to be for their LNA testing. And they actually sent it out to voters who requested absentee ballots. And the same thing, they said, bring it back, because people were wondering, why is my ballot already filled out? And it was filled out by a computer, not even by a person. And so that leads the question of, well, why do you have computer generated filled out ballots for your logic and accuracy testing, which the logic and accuracy testing is supposed to be the testing that makes sure that the machines are working the way that they're supposed to work before the election. As we, found out with Northampton County last year, that if they had done their LNA testing correctly, they would have found out there was issues. But we're seeing this across the country, folks. This is not just Pennsylvania. And that's why I said before, we're noticing a lot of issues across the country. And this is where that vote alert and vocal is going to really come in handy.
Right, because we didn't have that. And I know the critics say, we will get to the question about the absentee and mail-in ballots. The critics say, well, they didn't do anything about it in 2020. They didn't even look in Pennsylvania. They didn't get to the merits of the case or the lawsuit. And I agree with you. But what was missing in 2020 was all of us on the ground that actually know what the heck we're looking at now. That's right. And the connections that we've made. And we actually have platforms we can get this stuff out on. The censorship was unreal. I remember the week of November 3rd in 2020 in Pennsylvania, and Facebook groups starting pretty much instantaneously after we realized what was happening, called Stop the Steal. Do you remember Stop the Steal?
That's right.
I think, if memory serves me correctly, which is very possible, it doesn't, but I feel like it got 1 million people, followers, in a very short period of time, a matter of maybe days, definitely not more than a week, and it was instantly taken down.
That's
Instantly.
right.
Because they didn't want people to connect and gather and share information on what are you
No.
seeing and what are we seeing. And now guess what? They can't stop it. So yes. Although who knows how many of them are pedophiles. So we won't go there. Mail ballots, absentee versus mail ballots. Okay, so there's really not, but there is. They make it so simple, don't they? It's the same. The ballot, it looks the same in terms of who is on it. The difference is the coding on the back end, according to the Shore system. So if someone fills out an absentee ballot, it shows as AB in the Shore system. There's a category when it says how the first person voted. If you voted at the polling location, you'll have an AP in your column of how the voter voted. If you voted by a mail ballot, you'll have MB for mail ballot. And so I'm not sure why we're even still bothering, although I don't think we should push it, because we need to repeal Act 77, get rid of mail-in ballots, no excuse mail-in ballots, and go back to absentee, where you actually have to have a legitimate reason why you have to mail your ballot in, not to show up at the polls. And so that's why I wouldn't want to mesh them too much, because we want to get rid of that language. But when I hear that, Melanie, absentee versus MIB, mail-in ballot, just absentee means you actually have a reason, and a mail-in ballot anybody can get for any reason, because everybody has to have access to vote, and people wanted to steal elections, in my opinion. So there it is. Steve, well, good. You voted already. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you felt was best, awesome. I highly also recommend making sure, if your parents are elderly and they are in any type of care facility, that you take the responsibility to make sure that their voice is heard, right, even if it's not for Donald Trump. They have a voice, and we have seen
100%.
all across the Commonwealth that in nursing homes, in fact, just this week, Joe, I didn't send this to you, so you can't pull it up. I don't think he has it. There was a person going around in a local nursing home in my county, handing out a letter and an application for an absentee ballot to folks in the facility that were not there permanently. So they were just there, like, recovering from a surgery or rehabilitating from something, intended to go back home. And the letter was incredibly confusing and misleading, because it's encouraging the resident to request an absentee ballot and have it mailed back to that facility so that they can help you vote in your home precinct. Very confusing at first glance. Thank you to the whistleblower who brought this to our attention. We learned a ton, circulated it a bunch of different places, got questions answered. In and of itself, that's not illegal. But what it would do if the resident did that is put a lot of mail ballots in the hands of the activities director for the facility itself. And I don't know about you, my parents are in heaven with Jesus. If they were still here, I would want to be the one making sure that their voice was counted, not the assisted living care person. And so it's just ripe for you can't prove. I mean, and then you can't prove necessarily the votes were stolen. You don't know if that person filled the ballots out for them, requested ballot. It just opens the door up for an untransparent process, potential shenanigans all over the place. And so take the responsibility. There's the message. Take the responsibility. If you have parents, aunts, uncles, family, friends, whatever, encourage them to get their family to the polls or mail ballot. Do not let the assistant director of activities or whatever it is, do not let that person be responsible. So yes, my whole family, Steve says, yes, parents also. It just, I have a heart for these people. They're the most vulnerable in our society, and they're being pounced on and taken advantage of by people with political agendas. And it's disgusting. So as hard as it would be if my parents were alive, if one of them wanted to vote for Harris, which I can't even imagine, I just don't think I could sleep if I ignored their voice. No. And I didn't let them cast the ballot the way that they felt their conscience should vote. Although that's a hard, you know what? I can't even think about. That's a hard position to put myself in. Let's keep going. That's dark. What do we got left? I think the Behazy thing, we got Erie, we got Uocava ballots, we got mail ballots that aren't registered. Do you have a couple of things nationwide, Karen, that we haven't mentioned? I feel like maybe.
I did want to talk about Montgomery County and just kind of what we're seeing as far as how many mail-in ballots have been returned. If you can pull up that one post from the commissioner in Montgomery County that Jessica Wood posted. And I want to talk about that.
I live in the state of Pennsylvania, and I got my mail-in ballot a couple of days ago, and I have to show this to you because I'm concerned. So this is the way it works with the mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania. You complete the ballot. Here we go. Two-sided ballot. Upside down, sorry. But you get the point. You fill out your ballot. And then you're supposed to put the ballot in this yellow secrecy envelope, this official election ballot envelope. And then you put the yellow envelope inside the exterior envelope that gets sent back to your county board of elections. Okay.
Just go vote.
But here's the problem. My yellow secrecy envelope arrived. I took it out of the envelope that I received it in, and it's already sealed. Look at this. It's already sealed. And not only that, but my external mailing envelope is also already sealed. Look at this. This is how it came. Already sealed. So if I'm going to use these, which I'm not, but if I'm a busy person and maybe I don't open it until the day of the election, because let's face it, people are busy, I'm going to have to open this envelope, use a letter opener or a pair of scissors or something, tape it shut, I don't know. And same thing with the exterior envelope. And it's going to look like my ballot has been tampered with, which means it's not going to be counted. So I'm going to be calling my county election office tomorrow and see what to do about it. But I have to imagine that there are people that are busy, or they open it at the last minute and they just know that it has to be postmarked, right, by election day. Well, some people might decide that it's just not worth the hassle, or maybe they forget about it. They put it in their pile of things to do. And I'm just wondering if anybody else in Pennsylvania or any other state has run into this kind of a problem.
Awesome. And that's why we have things like Vote Alert and Vocal, so we can get these things out there now. So by the way, another reason, even if you're not working or watching the polls, is to get on these apps and get them on your phone. Is so if you're at a satellite office, however you plan to vote, if you see something, you have a way that you can get it out to the public and get it reported. That was humidity is what I heard, Karen, was the excuse for that.
They did say humidity.
Yes.
I agree with her. One of the issues is, there were some officials that were saying tape it shut and bring it in. Well, here's the problem with that is, first of all, like she said, it's going to look like it was tampered with. And second of all, how many people then can make a fake ballot and tape it shut? And it just, like Tony said, you can't officially say somebody's doing something nefarious, but it just opens the door to non-transparency. And that's what we advocate for, is transparency. And that definitely doesn't show transparency. And, the numbers have been weird. We're seeing almost 50% of some counties' mail-in ballots already being returned with 12 days to go. I guess that's possible. It's just things are seeming, weird. Across the country, we're seeing funky stuff with mail-in ballots. Like Tony said before, there were people that were getting multiple ballots. People that weren't even getting a ballot. And I like how somebody said, I mailed my ballot today. How do I make sure it's counted by election day? Well, you can go online. There is a website, and we can try and pull it up. I don't remember off the top of my head, but you can go on there. It's on the Pennsylvania Department of State website, and you can go on there and actually look to see if your mail-in ballot has been received. And so a lot of people have been emailing me and texting me, hey, Karen, I got a mail-in ballot. I ordered a mail-in ballot, but I haven't gotten it yet. And so what I would recommend is the last day to request your mail-in ballot is October 29th. So if you've already requested a mail-in ballot and you haven't gotten it yet, you want to make sure that you reach out to your Board of Elections before the 29th and tell them, hey, I've not gotten my mail-in ballot. Can you send me another one? So.
Oh, good. Let's get two in circulation. That makes me feel good too. See why we have to just get rid of these altogether?
Exactly.
We need to go back to absentee. And by the way, for the record, we are never going to eliminate cheating in elections because of the sin nature of man. And our hunger for power and control is just part of our flesh. So you're never going to eliminate all cheating and all fraud. But the idea is to get a process transparent enough that the public will trust the outcome. So you don't have what we've had since 2016 and 2020, so polarized, both sides insisting that the winning side cheated. That's what we're advocating. Audit the Vote is advocating for, is transparency in the process, so the public can once again trust the outcome. Joseph, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that.
It looks like, so somebody, Tony, look, somebody said that their ballot was also sealed. So here's another thing I want people to know, is that if something happens like that, comes election day and you realize, oh my goodness, it's sealed. If you take your entire ballot, including the secrecy envelope, your ballot, and the return envelope, you bring it with you to the polls, you can surrender your mail-in ballot and vote in person, but you have to have your complete mail-in ballot with you to surrender it. If you do not have your mail-in ballot and they have you down as requesting a mail-in ballot, you will have to vote provisionally. So please, 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 if you've ordered a mail-in ballot and decide not to use it, bring it with you to the polls on election day and surrender your entire ballot.
Excelente. Okay, last thing. We're coming up 5 minutes to the hour. Karen reminded me in our little private chat, we do want to share an update, a court case in Pennsylvania. I got to say, we haven't always agreed with these two, Greg Stenstrom and Leah Hoops, in every avenue that they've taken or their tactics or what have you on election integrity. But I got to say, they are fighters.
Yeah, they
They
are.
Undeterred fighters when it comes to the court system. I get so frustrated with the courts. I don't understand it. We don't have the money to pay attorneys. And these two just dug right in and learned how to file things pro se. And they have not stopped. It's like, what, I don't know how they have the wherewithal. The court system wears me out like no other. But these two just are at it. And they filed in the Supreme Court of the United States. I think they filed this week. Is that what that says?
I think so. This week. Yeah.
Petition for extraordinary writ of mandamus. Karen, so you seem to know a little bit more about this than I do. What are they asking the court to do?
So from my understanding, they're asking for a special master to oversee the investigation that they've got going on. They had some credible sources and some evidence. And so I guess they're asking for a special master to oversee everything. I mean, I'll tell you what, they have been through a ton. They've had whistleblowers. They've gotten thrown out of court. They, whatever the case is, these two, man, talk about fighters. They do not quit, and God bless them. I really hope that
I do too.
We're able to get somewhere, because a win for Pennsylvania, regardless of who it comes from, is a win for all of us. So, just keep me in your prayers, please, guys.
Colonel Sean Smith, Karen told me about this, says that everybody gets to swing at the piñata, and when it breaks, we all get candy. So we don't care who breaks that. Now back to that Twitter post, it looks like what they're doing, which I think is smart. I just hope it pans out, is that they're asking the special master to oversee the 2024 election so that if we do have allegations of fraud, they can't dismiss it. I started reading that after you were talking. So I don't know where they come up with this stuff, but I think this is great.
See, this is what they know, stuff that we don't. That is not my wheelhouse. I've learned
fabulous.
I stick to it. That is not courts.
I hope it works. I hope it works. I appreciate them for fighting, continuing the fight. And if you are, we'll wrap up with this. Patrick Colbeck. Do we still want to talk about Patrick? Before we get to Patrick Colbeck stuff, I'll have Karen do that before we close out. I am still looking for poll watchers in Allegheny County. As many of you know, if you don't know, we got a funder that is going to help us pay poll watchers, up to 200 of them, for the city of Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. And so we are recruiting and training those folks. We've got about 60, I think, right now that have been credentialed. We'll get poll watcher certificates that need to go through what I'm putting together. And I promise to finalize the webinar of election day specific training that we're going to have people what to track, how to track it, all the documents to bring with you to the polling location, a little bit deeper dive, make sure that you're really comfortable. In order to be eligible for that, one thing is you have to commit to the entire day. So you will have to be at the polling location before it opens at 7 a.m. and stay till after it closes at 8 p.m. But if you're willing to do that, we can get you some funds and get you paid so that you're not having to volunteer your time, take a day off work, and not be able to pay your bills and feed your family. So go to auditthevotepA.com and click on the link that says Eyes on 412 and fill out the information there, and we'll get in touch with you to get you through the process. So, Karen, take it away with Patrick Colbeck. We're missing something from him.
So the Patrick Colbeck thing, it really goes back to the NCOA stuff. They just have 500,000 more voters on their voter rolls, and their I think he's going to pull it up, but their Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, is saying, yeah, but we'll fix it after the election. We're not really worried about it right now. So, I mean, here's the thing.
Did you see something today with all the governors from the blue states like getting together, looking like all crazy?
I posted that on my Facebook. I was like, is this like the fraud squad?
What is that? That was it. That's where I saw it. You posted the fraud. Oh, and Joel, cue up the video from the angry person that we found out was one of our co-patriots, MJ, today. Please. We have to show that because that's
I want to real quickly before you do that. I wanted to answer this before. Somebody asked how long it was going to take for votes to count. And I thought it was funny. Al Schmidt has said it's going to take days. Then Michigan said it's going to take days. Maricopa County said it's going to take up to 2 weeks to count.
2 weeks. But we can't do it by hand because these machines are so efficient. No, the machines are so very efficient that we have to use them.
So guys, don't expect to go to bed on election night to know who wins, because even if Trump is up millions of votes, they still have 2 weeks to fix it.
We have 2 weeks to fix it for those UOCAVA guys to come in. The 15,000 that are overseas that aren't even registered to vote. They have until November 12th to turn it in. He has a video, Face the Nation video, Joel. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, 75% of all vote totals will be reported no later than 8 p.m. on election night. Only 75%.
75%.
What will be waiting
As
for
I
is the
understand it,
ballots.
Nearly all votes cast in this upcoming election will be recorded on paper. Last night,
absolutely, 100% will be. And it's actually security paper with the state seal on it.
Okay, important point to establish, because yesterday President Trump said something that implies that because it can take time to tabulate votes, there might be something nefarious here. Take a listen.
They spend all this money on machines, and then they announce, we expect to have the results like 7 days after the election. If you had paper ballots, you get them at 10 o'clock. France went to paper because what we did didn't work.
He's pointing to a lack of paper ballots as a problem here. Is he accurately describing what's happening, and how long will it take to tabulate votes?
In Georgia, 100% of all the votes cast will be on a paper ballot. But actually nationwide, it's going to be over 96 to 97% of all voting in America will be on paper ballots. But we also just put into law this year with SB 189 that all early votes and all early accepted ballots, they all will have to have their results reported by 8 p.m. That's 70, maybe even 75% of all the vote totals will be reported no later than 8 p.m. on election night.
Won't take 7 days to tabulate votes, as he said?
Absolutely not. What we will be waiting for is the overseas ballots that come in no later than Friday, and so those will then be the final numbers. And we'll just see if that makes the difference in the total vote totals. I understand we're very competitive, and that's why we've done everything since day one to make sure we have fast, accurate, and secure elections for all my voters here in Georgia.
How is he still the Secretary of State of Georgia? Unfrigging believable. Yes, Melanie, that video, super quick story about that. But Matt, correct. But here's what they're not telling you. If you're voting on a paper ballot, you can drop it off there. That's all well and good. In Pennsylvania, they can't open it or count it until election day, and it will be scanned through an electronic tabulator that has programmable software on the inside. And there's no way to know that if there's a program in there that's going to accurately read the ballot the way you marked it. And the only way to do that is a hand count. So they're 97% paper. Sure. But also 97, maybe 96%, thanks to Linda Rance and others like Rick Weibel, who are pushing hand counting paper ballots and actually getting somewhere in some places. 97% are also being counted by hackable electronic devices. Doesn't that make you feel warm and fuzzy? Yay.
Warm and fuzzy.
We're going
to know how you can vote.
We can't answer the door right now, but if you'd like to leave a message, you can do it now.
Shameful.
Are you the one that walks by here and always screaming at people?
No, I haven't walked by recently.
Okay, because a lot of people walk by.
For the devil. Don't you know that?
No.
Why are you voting for him?
Because I believe he is the moral candidate.
Oh my God. You for that one.
That's
moral?
exactly right. That's how your side acts.
Oh my God.
That's
He's
how
the
you
most
guys,
immoral person around.
in your opinion, that's
Oh,
okay. Yeah, that's, I'm sorry. Have a nice day. Have a nice day. God bless you.
Okay. So that video, here's the best part of this. That video, I vaguely see it. We get so much stuff. Click on my X, libs of TikTok, see this lunatic screaming at a door. I'm thinking, what crazy place is that in? Don't have time to really look at it. Go to a meeting tonight in Pittsburgh to recruit poll watchers for our Eyes on 412 effort and find out that that is none other than MJ Costello, the founder of Team Red in Pittsburgh. Her house in Allegheny County in Pittsburgh. And oh yes, that went viral today. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. They're asking me in the meeting, did you see it? I'm like, no, I don't know what you're. And as soon as she starts describing it, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're kidding. I totally saw that. I just had no idea it was you.
Oh
Like,
my God. Yes.
Yes. TDS.
Like, wow.
Lady yelling through the Ring doorbell. Folks, that was Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that's why we need poll watchers out here. Because look at that. I had no, if I had any idea, oh my gosh, you want a sales pitch for why we need poll watchers? Right there. Thank you for that. We pray every time we're with our people that the Lord clears our path and puts the right people in the right places and gives us what we're supposed to reach. And I'm telling you, lately, it's like every day stuff is just dropped in our lap that gets us to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. Because we were getting a little bit of criticism on Facebook for, why are you guys only doing the city of Pittsburgh? Aren't you like profiling people? What, you don't think that fraud happens in outside the city in Allegheny County? Why just the city? Like, then some lunatic goes nuclear at MJ's door.
I mean, notice the difference though. Notice how like that woman's psycho and cool, calm, collected. MJ is like,
she's just have a nice day.
Love you. Bye-bye. See you later.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh, Patriots.
Crazy.
We have found each other. We have found each other. We have found our people. And that's what's going to make the difference in the next 12 days. So that's all I got. Please like, share, and subscribe. Go to our website, auditthevotepa.com. There's multiple initiatives. You can sponsor a poll watcher for a couple $100. Takes care of what we're going to pay the poll watcher, as well as the administrative details that take to put together this entire effort, which is hopefully going to include feeding the poll watchers some lunch and dinner, getting them some food throughout the day, and all the administrative logistics that we're having to do to put this together. So if you make a $200 donation, that will sponsor a poll watcher in Allegheny County. Also, you can give us $10 and sponsor a mail ballot challenge if you would like. And there's so many of those we could make. I don't really know how to tell you where that's going to go, but a donation to us will go towards the fight for free and fair, transparent elections, and hopefully stopping another steal in Pennsylvania in 12 days. Karen, anything else before we over and out?
No, I think that video closed it out well.
That was awesome. I am tired. We will see you guys next week. Have a good one.